Hello friends, today we'll discuss about the recent amendments to the Conduct of Election Rules 1961 that restrict public access to a section of poll documents. This was brought into effect through a notification issued by the Ministry of Law and Justice following a recommendation by the Election Commission. First we'll discuss the context of the amendments. The context is the Punjab and Haryana Assembly election. A petitioner named Mahmood Pracha petitioned the Punjab and Haryana High Court asking for disclosure of all documents related to the Punjab and Haryana Assembly election, including the CCTV footage. So the Punjab and Haryana High Court issued a direction to the Election Commission asking the Election Commission to share all documents related to the Punjab and Haryana Assembly election, including the CCTV footage, with the petitioner Mahmood Pracha. First, what are the Conduct of Election Rules 1961? These are a set of rules which provide for provisions on how to conduct elections as per the Representation of Peoples Act. Now, what is the amendment? The Rule 93(2)(a) of the Conduct of Election Rules 1961 was amended. Earlier, this rule read, all other papers related to elections shall be open to public inspection. But after the amendment, it reads, all other papers as specified in the rules related to elections shall be open to public inspection. That means earlier, all other papers related to election were open to public inspection, but now all other papers as specified in the rules related to election will be open to public inspection. That means this additional clause has been added. So as specified in the rules related to election means as specified in the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. So all papers as specified in the rules related to election as specified in the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, they will be open to public inspection. So this means that those documents which are not mentioned in the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, they can be restricted from public inspection. And this amendment has been opposed by many transparency activists as well as many opposition leaders. Why was the amendment brought in now? As we have discussed, recent directions by Punjab and Haryana High Court to share all documents about Punjab and Haryana Assembly elections. The directions were given to the Election Commission by the Punjab and Haryana High Court. And the Punjab and Haryana High Court said that CCTV footage should also be treated as permissible under Rule 93(2) of the Conduct of Election Rules, and the CCTV footage should also be disclosed to the petitioner, and it should be treated as permissible under Rule 93(2) of the Conduct of Election Rules. But then the Election Commission recommended to the Ministry of Law and Justice, and the amendment was brought about, and the amendment amended the Conduct of Election Rules, and now it reads, all other papers as specified in the rules related to election shall be open to public inspection. So now only those documents which are mentioned in the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, they are open to public inspection, and those documents which are not mentioned in these rules, they can be restricted from public inspection. So on this ground, after this amendment, the Election Commission refused to disclose the CCTV footage of the Punjab and Haryana Assembly election to the petitioner Mahmood Pracha. Mahmood Pracha had contested the Lok Sabha elections 2024. Now, what are the arguments given by the Election Commission for non-disclosure of CCTV footage? A senior official in the Election Commission said that the rule, the Conduct of Election and the Rule 93(2)(a) of the Conduct of Election Rules, it mentions that all other papers related to election shall be open to public inspection. So it mentions election papers. It does not specifically refer to electronic records. So it does not specifically refer to electronic records. Also, the official said that there is a potential for misuse of CCTV footage using artificial intelligence. So the CCTV footage of the polling station may be misused using artificial intelligence, and the CCTV footage may be manipulated. Also, it may have serious repercussions in sensitive areas like Jammu and Kashmir and Naxal affected areas. because if the CCTV footage of the polling booth is disclosed, then the miscreants and terrorists, they may target the voters and it may be a threat to the life of the voters. Also, there is a violation of secrecy of vote. Now, the pro-transparency activists, they are protesting against these amendments. Why are they protesting? So, one of the activists, Anjali Bhardwaj, she says that changes in Rule 93, they hurt the citizens' right to know about the election process. So, it is against the right to information or the right to know. Another activist, Venkatesh Nayak, says that it is restricting the citizens' right to access documents created during elections. It is restricting the citizens' right to access the documents created during the parliamentary and the assembly elections, because many of these documents are not mentioned in the conduct of election rules. So many of these documents, they are not mentioned in the conduct of election rules. Instead, they are mentioned in the handbooks and in the manuals, published by the Election Commission from time to time. So they are not mentioned in the conduct of election rules, but they are mentioned in these handbooks and manuals. But now the Election Commission can refuse to disclose these documents, citing the recent amendments, because the amendment says all other papers as specified in the rules related to elections shall be open to public inspection. So documents that are not in the rules, they may be restricted from public inspection. So documents which are not in the rules but which are mentioned in the handbooks and manuals, the Election Commission may refuse to disclose them. And amendment seeks to prevent access to various documents and reports filed by various election officials. For example, the presiding officer's diaries. The presiding officer's diaries, they are mentioned in the handbooks and manuals of the Election Commission. And these diaries they contain details about the voter turnout, about the number of tokens distributed during the closing hour of voting. Now, recently, the Lok Sabha and Assembly elections were held and there was a controversy. The Election Commission, it releases the voter count twice. It releases the voter count first after the conclusion of the polling on the poll day. So, poll day evening, after conclusion of polling, the Election Commission releases the voter count, and next time after the counting of votes, after the counting of votes is over, the Election Commission again releases the voter count. Ideally, these two voter count, they should be same. But this time, there was a huge difference in the voter count taken on the poll day evening and the voter count taken after the counting of votes. So there was a huge difference. So many of the activists, they are questioning this huge difference. Also, there was a lot of delay in the Election Commission releasing the data the second time, that is after the counting of votes. Normally, there is a period of approximately 24 hours between the data regarding voter count released on the poll day evening, that is after conclusion of poll, and the data regarding the voter count released, the data regarding the final data regarding the voter count released after the counting of votes is over. So the difference is not much. Normally it is 24 hours, but this time there was a huge delay. So again, the activists are questioning this, and they are saying why there is so much of difference between the voter count taken after the conclusion of poll on the poll day evening and the voter count taken, the final voter count taken after the counting of votes is over. So these questions are being raised, and the answer to these questions may lie in the presiding officer's manual, because this presiding officer's manual, which is not mentioned in the conduct of election rules but mentioned in the handbooks and manuals of Election Commission. So this presiding officer's diary, it contains details about the voter turnout during different times of the day on the polling day, at different times of the day during on the polling day, and also the number of tokens distributed during the closing hour of polling, the number of tokens distributed to the voters who are standing in queue during the closing hour of polling. So this presiding officer's diary, it may contain the answer to the questions that are raised by the activists. The activists want to verify these presiding officers' manuals, and they will want to seek information. They will want the disclosure of these presiding officers' diaries. But now, since these presiding officers' diaries, they are not mentioned in the conduct of election rules, so citing the recent amendment, the Election Commission may refuse to disclose details of these diaries. So that is why these activists, the different activists, they are protesting against these amendments. Also, there are certain other records which are mentioned in these handbooks and manuals, which may now be refused by the Election Commission. The disclosure of these may be refused by Election Commission, citing the recent amendment. So, what are these other documents? These are reports that are submitted to the election observers. Reports that are submitted to the election observers. Then there are scrutiny reports. There are scrutiny reports that are submitted by the returning officers. Scrutiny reports submitted by returning officers after the polling. Also, there are index cards. Index cards sent to the election commission. Index cards that are sent to the election commission after the declaration of results. And these index cards, they contain the detailed statistics. They contain the statistics that are related to the elections. So after these amendments, the election commission may refuse to disclose all these also, because they are not mentioned in the conduct of election rules. Instead, they are mentioned in the handbooks and manuals of the election commission. Now, activist Anjali Bhardwaj, she says that in May 2024, applications were filed under Rule 93(2) of the Conduct of Election Rules for copies of Form 17C to be disclosed, and these applications, they are still pending. So Anjali Bhardwaj, activist, she says that applications were filed in May 2024 for under Rule 93(2) for the disclosure of details, for the disclosure of copies of Form 17C to be disclosed, and these applications, they are still pending. So action has not been taken on them. Now we see what Form 17C is. Now Form 17C, it contains the details. It contains the details of the number of voters. It contains a comprehensive record of the votes that are cast, of the votes cast across polling booths nationwide. So this is about the part 1 of Form 17C. It contains details of the votes cast across polling booths nationwide. It contains details regarding the allocation of electors to each polling station. It also contains details about the electors who are abstaining from vote, the electors who are denied voting rights. Also, information regarding total tally of votes tabulated via EVMs, particulars concerning ballot papers and paper seals. So this is about the first section of Form 17C. The later section of Form 17C, it contains the candidate name, the votes garnered by each candidate. It also gives insight into whether the votes recorded at a given booth, whether they tally with the overall votes polled. So this was in brief about the Form 17C. So in this video, we have seen about the recent amendments to the Conduct of Election Rules 1961. The context, the background of these amendments, why these amendments were brought about. That was the petitioner Mahmood Pracha had asked for CCTV footage, and now the CCTV footage has been denied to the petitioner. And the Election Commission says that disclosing of CCTV footage can have serious repercussions in sensitive areas, and also there is a potential for misuse of the CCTV footage using artificial intelligence. And the recent amendments to the rules, they say that all the papers as specified in the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, the rules related to election, they shall be open to public inspection. So this shows that other documents that are not mentioned in these rules but are mentioned in the handbooks and manuals of Election Commission, they may be restricted from being disclosed. And because of this, the activists are protesting against the amendments. The activists are saying that this is against the right to know about the election process. And also there was a recent controversy in the recent Lok Sabha and Assembly elections regarding the delay in publishing of the final voter count by the Election Commission. The final voter count is released after the counting of votes. There was a lot of delay between the first voter count taken after the conclusion of polling on the polling day, that is on the polling day evening, and the final voter count taken after the counting of votes. There was a delay, and also there was a huge difference between the two voter counts when ideally they should be the same. So activists had raised a question regarding why there was so much of difference. They said that there was manipulation of the voter count taking place. The activists said that there was manipulation of the voter count taking place during the counting of votes. So all these questions could be answered if the presiding officer's diaries were disclosed. But now, since the amendments have been made in the conduct of election rules, and the amendments say that only those documents that are mentioned in the rules, they can be disclosed. The documents that are mentioned in the handbooks, like the presiding officer's diary, they may be restricted from being disclosed. So now the activists will not have access to these presiding officers' diaries, which contain details about the voter turnout and about the number of tokens distributed during the closing hour of polling. So now these may not be disclosed, and because of this, the activists are protesting against the recent amendments. With this, we come to the end of this video. Thank you.